Today we are going to look at the mythical island of Taiwan, whom most countries on Earth say just does not exist. But it does, and today I'll be filtering through all the smoke and mirrors, the propaganda from the media and the diplomatic rows to get to the bottom of what is this mystery we call Taiwan. All of my research links are in the description if you disagree with my conclusion. Let's get started. Taiwan is an island 180 kilometers off the east coast of China. Taipei, the capital of Taiwan, is a modern metropolis with Japanese colonial lanes, busy shopping streets and contemporary buildings. Militarily, Taiwan is at the center of the United States' first island chain of containment strategy. The second island chain will be used to defend Taiwan if needed. When you look at Taiwan from a military standpoint geographically, it's easy to see why this island is the center of US-China battle for maritime dominance. The Japanese see Taiwan vital to their defense strategy, as an aggressive neighbor from the south would be difficult to repel. Taiwan is also positioned perfectly to cut off supply lines to China's island military bases in the South China Sea. The Taipei Times conducted a survey. 80% of the inhabitants of Taiwan see themselves as Taiwanese, and only 8.1% see themselves as Chinese. Even though the Chinese Communist Party claims Taiwan as part of China, Taiwan's inhabitants clearly do not see themselves as Chinese. Rather, they see themselves as an independent, democratic country. The Chinese Communist Party says that Taiwan is part of China, simply because the people are ethnically Han Chinese. Well, that's just not exactly accurate. Taiwanese are ethnically and racially distinct from Chinese because of intermarriage with the Taiwanese Aboriginals. These Taiwanese Aboriginals used to kill the Chinese invaders throughout history and keep their skulls as trophies. And even if the island of Taiwan was populated by Han Chinese, it's like saying that America is owned by the UK simply because they're predominantly white Anglo-Saxon. Ridiculous. And also, if saying that Taiwan is predominantly Han Chinese gives the Chinese Communist Party the right to take control of the island of Taiwan, then this argument should be a warning to all countries that allow Chinese immigration. Let me explain. Imagine immigration of Han Chinese hits a critical mass in your country. Then the CCP could, in theory, make the same claim on your country too. Then the sovereignty of your country will be put into question the same way Taiwan is right now. Australia is clearly a test case for this strategy by the Chinese Communist Party. Therefore, protecting Taiwan's democracy and independence is just as much of an importance of national security to Australia as Australia's sovereignty will be the next target for the Chinese Communist Party. $1 equals 30 new Taiwan dollars. A regular cappuccino will cost, say, 70 new Taiwan dollars, which is quite cheap. Taiwan's Gini coefficient is 33, 1 point better than Australia, which shows that Taiwan's equal distribution of wealth is world class. GDP of 571 billion, with imports and exports dominated by China at 26.1% and 26.6% of GDP respectively. Taiwan is ranked 16th in the world for internet speed and has free universal healthcare for all, and is one of the only progressive countries in Asia that fully accepts the LGBT community and is also in the process of legitimizing same-sex marriage. Taiwan announced an ambitious $59 billion investment in renewable energies. Also, Taiwan in 2016 elected their first female president, which is in contrast to most Asian countries, which are mostly male dominated, and women do not have equal rights in most countries in Asia. But it's not all good news for Taiwan. You see, a lot of Twitch streamers and YouTubers have recently been making videos in Taiwan, and the Taiwanese media has been very xenophobic against white males making videos in Taiwan. It has become quite a big problem in Taiwan in recent years. I found evidence of China itself inadvertently recognizing Taiwan as an independent country. In 2013, the ANZTEC, this convoluted agreement using New Zealand as a proxy, was in fact an agreement between Taiwan and China through the World Trade Organization. It was written in English, so the average Chinese could not read it, and was not signed by any politicians in order to avoid China recognizing Taiwan's sovereignty officially. Full PDF in the description if you want to check it out. President Donald Trump said the Trans-Pacific Partnership was a bad deal for the US. All countries who are signatories to the TPP were and still are baffled. Experts believe that President Trump wants a better deal economically for the US, but I've got a better theory. Taiwan is not included in the TPP due to China's aggression, yet the TPP would be valuable in bringing Taiwan economically closer to its neighbors and in turn closer to the US. I believe that President Donald Trump wants Taiwan to be included in the Trans-Pacific Partnership before the US agrees to it. According to the Taipei Times, Taiwan wants to be included in the TPP, so this theory has real validity. Taiwan has a strong democracy and is far more aware of the danger posed by Chinese investment, best portrayed by the Sunflower Student Movement, March 18, 2014. This protest was triggered by the Cross-Strait Service Trade Agreement which Taiwan signed with China June 21, 2013, which allowed Chinese businesses more access to the Chinese economy. The Taiwanese understand how the Chinese operate far deeply than anyone in the Western world. They fear that the Chinese government would gradually destroy their economy and ultimately their freedoms. So, the Sunflower Movement was born. Between March 18th and April 10th, 2014, Taiwanese students and academics occupied the Taiwanese parliament for 23 days to protest. $3 million in damages were incurred. 400 people were investigated in the aftermath. All protesters were found not guilty due to freedom of speech and their rights to protest, which contrasts what happened in Hong Kong. I won't go into depth about the umbrella movement, but put simply, there were protests against the Chinese Communist Party taking away Hong Kong's already flimsy democratic freedoms. The CCP arrested, used violence and oppression against the umbrella movement in Hong Kong. Even to this day, the people on mainland China are unaware of what happened in Hong Kong. This type of oppression is what the Taiwanese people fear if the CCP was to occupy Taiwan. Taiwan's democracy is quite solid. It's a democracy that should be admired, respected and protected. I would also like to add that if this had happened in Australia, the Chinese government would have called it racist. But the Chinese could not call the Taiwanese racist as they are ethnically Asian. People in Australia fear saying anything against China as they can be oppressed as a racist. Even the Australian media is stupid enough to perpetuate this false myth, which is propaganda used by the CCP. When in fact the CCP uses tribalism to influence Western countries constantly. Personally, I'd like to see Canada recognise Taiwan's independence, seeing as Justin Trudeau is so good at virtue signalling. The problem is recognising Taiwan as an independent country is far too risky these days due to China's aggression. Earlier in 2018, 20 countries recognised Taiwan. 1st of May 2018, it was reduced to 19 as the Dominican Republic received between 3.1 and 4 billion USD from the Chinese Communist Party to close down the Taiwan embassy in the Dominican Republic. Here's a list of the countries which still recognize Taiwan. China's plan is to give money to each of these remaining countries. In return, the condition is they cut ties with Taiwan. We call this checkbook diplomacy and works quite effectively with corrupt third world countries. Taiwan says it's okay to recognize both Taiwan and China, yet China wants to totally isolate Taiwan politically. In 1972, Richard Nixon announced that Taiwan was part of China when he met Mao Zedong. In 1979, Washington declared Taiwan an entity, whatever that means. 37 years later, on December 3rd, 2016, President of the United States Donald Trump gave Taiwan the legitimacy it had been hoping for by receiving a phone call from the female president of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen, which China condemned. The Taiwanese president simply called to congratulate Donald Trump on his election win. Trump sealed it with a tweet, of course he did. But this was more than just receiving a call. It was a strong signal that the current administration was committed to Taiwan's independence. Now here's something I bet you didn't know. On June 12, 2018, when the entire world's eyes were fixed on the Singapore summit between Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump, where the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula was on the agenda, the US quietly opened the American Institute in Taiwan. The American Institute in Taiwan is just a covert name for embassy. That's right, 46 years since Nixon declared Taiwan doesn't exist, it would seem that the United States is about to support Taiwanese independence publicly. A spokesman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry stated that reopening of the institute would have a negative impact on US-China relations. Then China conducted live-fire military drills off the coast of Taiwan, once again threatening Taiwan with the always-present threat of Chinese invasion. Back in 2015, satellite images showed that the Chinese military had built a replica of Taiwan's presidential office building, and the PLA were practicing the invasion of Taiwan. The fact China constantly threatens to invade Taiwan and has possibly millions of people die in the process is more evidence that Taiwan is not China. It's like Washington threatening to invade California, which is just ridiculous because California is a state in the US, and this would never happen. In more recent years, the Chinese people have become more aggressive. Knowing their government has a strong military has given them the backbone to simply assault people who disagree with them politically. A British man was bashed by a group of Chinese and lost a tooth simply because he had a Taiwanese flag tattoo. Even underage girls are not immune to the Chinese people's disgusting behavior, as a 16-year-old Taiwanese singer was sent death threats by Chinese people for simply holding a Taiwanese flag. She later was forced to apologize online. As you can see by the thumbs down, the international community disagrees with China's aggression. Domestically, China has been financially backing criminal gangs like the Bamboo Union Gang and the political party Chinese Unity Promotion Party, CUPP, which is headed by the White Wolf. The CUPP has allegedly been assaulting students, and one member recently was found guilty for dismembering his girlfriend into little pieces. The problem is, the Chinese people are living in a bubble created by the Chinese Communist Party. Due to the Great Firewall of China, their ability to access the outside world is limited. Most Chinese are totally unaware what their government is really doing abroad and unaware of the bad reputation the Chinese people hold receiving. Also, when Chinese people are challenged in any way, they instantly go on the defensive and become angry. There is also no reasoning with most Chinese people. So I can see this ending badly for every country in Asia, as China has the political will to continue its military expansion throughout Asia. This is the main reason why the world's economies are slowing, as each country is spending money on weapons to balance China's expanse instead of spending money domestically so that people can have better lives. Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Indonesia, USA, India, Australia have all increased their military spending due to the South China Sea and the real threat China poses. All these countries have had a drop in their standards of living simply because the funds have to be spent on defense. Tariffs and trade wars are all a domino effect of China's aggression, and it will only get worse. Just so you know why your economy is slowing, it's entirely China's doing. In conclusion, Taiwan is not part of China today, but tomorrow they could choose to be dissolved into the Chinese system and change their collective minds. It's entirely up to the people of Taiwan to choose their own destiny. Hopefully, change does not come as a result of bloodshed though. If you want to see more geographical analysis like this, please support me on Patreon. And if you have not already, click that subscribe button, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on anything. See you all in the next video. All my research links and PDFs are in the description if you want to check out the copious amounts of research I did for this video. Don't let fear stop you.